PiLiPiLi. And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, sitting up 1-0. And more recently, a losing record versus PiLiPiLi. We'll see if he can bring it to a 2-0. Give it up for Flipside Tactics' very own JonSnow. And I really do want to emphasize that these two players have had a ridiculously close win rate versus each other in Heart of the Swarm. They ended Heart of the Swarm with a perfectly even game win-loss record. I think it was, actually, it may have even been in series as well. They were like perfectly dead even in terms of number of games won versus each other and number of games lost versus each other. Legacy of the Void, it was looking a little bit more favored in terms of JonSnow, especially after the best of 69. I don't think that's PiLiPiLi's gonna recover on the game count anytime soon, but PiLiPiLi has been doing much better lately than JonSnow. And not just versus JonSnow, but he has been on fire lately. Again, I mentioned this earlier, qualifying for the IEM Shenzhen North American qualifier over some really good players, beating Masa twice 2-0 in the second time. He's been doing really well, but I would say PVZ still want to see what he can do. But in that Shenzhen qualifier, he actually beat JonSnow. That was the second result that we saw, that match history statistics page. So I'm interested to see what exactly is going on. What is JonSnow doing? Has he found some way to mix it up after playing versus PiLiPiLi yesterday in the Masters Cup? Only time will tell. We do have a third expansion coming out from JonSnow. Map again is Frost, and it's going to be cross spawn locations. So JonSnow is one of those players that, you know what, a lot of the time I'd say, hey, you know, you have to be a little bit careful about expanding toward your opponent if you're in, say, like vertical spawn positions. If JonSnow was up here in the top right and he expanded here for the third, I'd say, versus especially a player like PiLiPiLi who loves mixing in his all-ins and his aggression, you got to be a little bit careful about that. But versus JonSnow is a man who loves his aggression. JonSnow cannot get enough of making units on very low drone counts. You can already see he's making a decent number of these Zerglings right now to deal with the depth pressure on just 32 Zerglings, but he's also getting up Overlord speed to get out fast scouting on his opponents. And we'll see, when does he decide to stop droning? That is the #1 thing you need to look out for when you're watching JonSnow. Now, PiLiPiLi, he's been mixing things up. He likes to do kind of a mix of more macro-oriented play with a lot of aggression also. And this game, he is going to be opening up with the Stargate, because I know a lot of that Mutalist play has been frustrating many Protoss players, especially PiLiPiLi. I've seen him lose a decent number of these Muta games lately. We do have the Oracle moving on in. Mention gets 3 kills. There's no Spore Crawlers down right now in the natural expansion. Spore Crawler going up in the main base. He is actually going to act as a bit of a zoning mechanism also for this Oracle, so he can walk around and fly out of there fairly easily. Managed to get 5 worker kills. That's pretty damn decent. But the Phoenix follow-up is also going to be very important. Whoa, 1 Phoenix to kill off Overlords. And then into an Oracle, and then into another Phoenix? This is a really weird order of production for Stargate units. And I think that this might be something that JonSnow's not really expecting. The second Oracle specifically. Because after you see the first Phoenix, after your Overlord spots out that first Phoenix, you're like, okay, he started the Phoenix production at this point. That one Oracle that has energy, sure. I have to be a little bit careful about it, but I don't need to like pull all of my queens into one location and get ready to defend. But double Oracle, you really do have to be quite careful, because the Spore Crawlers are only going to do so much against them. The double Oracles can really move in and start sniping off drones rather quickly, while one of them soaks up shots. All right, but we do have third expansion finally coming up for PiLiPiLi. He is getting up a decent number of Adepts, so if he times this out where the Adepts are coming in at the same time as the double Oracles, then, ooh, this could be really scary. Well, no, I keep talking about the double Oracle. Did he lose it? No, he canceled the Oracle. Oh, okay, so I've been talking out of my butt for a while now. So he canceled the Oracle and went back into Phoenix. Maybe it was a misclick or whatever, but ignore everything I said about that super awesome mind game of like, you never expect the Oracle after the Phoenix. Regardless, the Phoenix are going to be able to do a little bit of damage over here. Oracle also adding in a little bit of DPS, but it is focus fire down. It is going to get picked off, and next up on the chopping list is going to be that other Phoenix that does get very low on health. Queen's able to push things back, but not for long. They're a bit out of position as they go off of creep for a little bit. The Adepts charge on in. Not able to get any sort of drone kills just yet. JonSnow is very much on top of this, but we do have a Nidus Worm finished up. When the heck did this go up? Roach is going to be able to buy a little bit of time and actually getting some pretty decent trades. JonSnow is handling this very, very well, all things considered. Is 67 workers to 39, though. JonSnow definitely invested quite heavily into going for the Nidusworm play. He's invested into going for a huge, huge army, and he's killed off a majority of the army for PiLiPiLi. PiLiPiLi invested a lot into the Stargate units. He doesn't have a lot back at home to defend, but here we go. Nidusworm is coming on up. There's a, oh my god, a massive Artosis pylon. Does PiLiPiLi realize that he needs to start throwing down some pylons? Because, yeah, these gateways are going to be great, awesome, but what happens if you lose this pylon? You don't have your Forge researching anymore. You don't have your Twilight Council over here, and the Queens get out of here very, very easily. The Phoenixes are very late. They don't even clean up that Overlord. I really do feel like cleaning up the Overlord would be nice, because if you eventually kill off the Nidusworm, you want to make sure that it cannot just be easily reproduced once the units are killed. Even Burrow is being researched right now, which could just add insult to injury at this point. Some of these Queens do have enough energy for Transfuse. A little bit late on the Transfuse over there from JonSnow, but these two Immortals going to be playing a very critical role. Photon Overcharge is already thrown down. At least they're being effectively utilized versus some of these forward Roaches and Zerglings. And hey, PiLiPiLi's not doing too bad of a job. Some good force fields, zoning out some of these Roaches, making the retreat pack out of these Photon Overcharges a little bit harder. And wow, PiLiPiLi does an amazing job with the micro over there. Does manage to hold on. Another Nidusworm does go down, though, over at the third expansion. And this is going to be a bit problematic. These Phoenixes lifting up the Queens. He lifts up the high energy Queen. That's a really, really a big, important pickup, because he managed to kill off the Nidusworm as well. And now the Queens get picked off. A couple more units make their way to the main base. This is starting to be held. You have to remember, PiLiPiLi's on 67 workers to 37 of JonSnow. This is an all-in by every single means possible from JonSnow. If PiLiPiLi can hold on over here, it doesn't look like he has enough over here in the main base. He doesn't have any more of these Immortals on the low ground. The Immortals are making their way back up from the third expansion, and they are going to be able to get over here. Void were able to focus on down the Nidusworm. That traps in all of these Roaches, but now, finally, Burrow is finished up, and there's no Oracle. There's no robotic facility that's produced out an Observer just yet. Observer, there's a double Robo available, but where are they? When are they going to start making these Observers? They're finally starting to make them just now. But here we go. Another Nidusworm gets picked off. JonSnow has to transition out at this point. He's making a couple more Roaches, but honestly, those are just the kind of final wave. GG, well played gets called. PiLiPiLi ties up the series 1-1 with a magnificent hold. Really well done, and we are going to be moving into the ace match. I couldn't be more excited. Oh, as if living up to the hype for me in terms of how even these two players are. PiLiPiLi evens it up versus JonSnow. I made a tweet out saying that I love watching these two players so much that I am actually very much happy to just cast a second best of 69 with these two players, because I've cast a best of 69 with these two guys, and it was a ton of fun. But JonSnow was pretty dominant. It was at the beginning of Legacy of the Void. As I said, PiLiPiLi has been making a bit of a comeback in terms of how effective he's been. But here we go. We're hopping into it. Game number 3. The map is going to be Ruins of Endion. I do not have a map intro for this map. Looks like PiLiPiLi going to take a short little break. So, since we're going to just be sitting here for a few minutes anyways, let's go ahead and hop to a short little commercial break. We'll see you guys in just a little bit. All right, welcome back, guys. We're hopping into the game, and let's go ahead and get ready to do this. And let me halt my music and try this one more time. Epic music. All right, let's take a look. Statistics screen one more time as we get ready for the face-off. Moving on to Ruins of Endion for this best of 3 in the winners round of 8. JonSnow versus PiLiPiLi. JonSnow has a little bit more money to his name, but as you can see, it's been a pretty even series. ZvP, especially JonSnow, has traditionally had a pretty awesome win rate. 70% win rate. PiLiPiLi has been doing a little bit better in PvZ, but here we go. We're spawning down over here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, atop of the blue Zerg player, representing Team Flipside Tactics. Give it up for JonSnow. And his opponent spawned down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. We have the red Protoss player from Team Psystorm Gaming. Give it up for Psystorm's PiLiPiLi. A couple of quick bracket updates. Looks like Huck still did not show up for his losers bracket match versus No Regret, so he did end up giving the bye to No Regret. No Regret advances on to the next round. Is going to play versus The loser, I think of, let's see, loser of 28. So he plays versus the loser of this series. Very cool. And of course, the winner of that series is going to play versus the winner of Panda Bear Me versus Mr. Bubble Dick. Because it looks like Panda Bear Me. Wait a second. Oh, was there? Did I have something wrong? Did the bracket change? I could have sworn the bracket said that Panda Bear Me won versus Neeb. Maybe somebody out there will tell me I was totally full of it, that Panda Bear Me lost versus Neeb. But I swore that it said Panda Bear Me won versus Neeb. Well, regardless, Neeb won versus Panda Bear Me. I think that was the more anticipated result. So Panda Bear Me is in the loser's bracket right now. I hope I didn't just like misread it and totally kill or like ruin any sort of hype. But wow, take a look over here from JonSnow, going for the 3 hatch before pool. Something that we don't actually see quite as often, I would say, in Legacy of the Void. Is definitely much less common than you ever saw it in Heart of the Swarm. PiLiPiLi gonna move in over here with a scouting probe, a gateway scout, and is gonna be able to see all of this. Probably gonna say like, okay, well, at least I went for the gateway nexus core rather than a gate core nexus or anything like that. Alright, well, hey, BaseTradeTV is posted something over on Twitter. I don't know what it is, but go check it out. There's a link in the chat if you scroll up 3 minutes ago. But alright, PVZ on this map, Ruins of Endion. This is definitely a very interesting and weird map sometimes, just because I've seen a lot of players, like, you knock down these rocks and then you basically just have these rocks knocked down for a large portion of the game while you continue to push in through these rocks. This is where a lot of the big engagements happen, especially with a player like JonSnow, who really loves his Hydralisk, and he loves going into his Lurker play. And Lurkers can be pretty strong on this map, especially if you get siege up into a nice position down over here. You siege up somewhere along this ramp, and suddenly you're now in range of where your potential opponent's 4th expansion is. You really do start to cut off your opponent's breathing space very quickly with Lurker play. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see JonSnow, especially with the 3 hatch before pool, trying to move into something like that. PiLiPiLi not going to be knocking down his rocks almost immediately. He does have a pylon over there to try and photon overcharge and knock down the rocks if he needs to, but his adept is out on the other side of the map trying to get some kills. Does manage to get 4 Zergling kills, nothing too drastic. Well, wait. It was definitely up at 4 kills, right? I could have sworn that adept had 4 kills. Maybe not. I guess this adept managed to get the 4th kill. But PiLiPiLi able to get at least all the scouting information he really needs to. He sees that the gas is, whether or not the gas is still mining. He sees that there was, or pretty should have seen that there was just 1 drone mining gas. And if he didn't before, he definitely sees it now. And he's going to know I don't have to worry about some super fast tech up. I don't have to worry about a fake 3rd leading into some sort of 2-base all-in. And that means that he can tech up himself. He can grab his own 3rd expansion and try and get a little bit of damage done with this adept, which is already up to 3 kills now. At least 2 of which are workers now, I believe. Yeah, 2 worker kills. Oracle also out, but the Spore Crawlers have finished up, at least in the natural expansion as well as the main base. There is one at the 3rd expansion as well, so JonSnow is very much prepared for the Stargate opening. But double transition to the double robotic facility is going to be coming out for PiLiPiLi. Is most certainly going to be a very strong transition, getting out a lot of those immortals if JonSnow decides to go for that massive transition to a lot of roaches. Even versus Hydrals, it can be okay, and eventually versus the Lurkers, you do want a lot of those immortals, but there's kind of a nice little fine timing where a Zerg player can get out a lot of Hydra Ling, and it's sort of a more old school Heart of the Swarm style, but the Hydra Ling composition can actually do relatively well versus a smaller Protoss force that is basically mostly just immortals and maybe a handful of stalkers or something. The Hydras just do so much damage, and the Zerglings do tank quite a bit of damage versus the immortals. So it can work out pretty well, but we'll see if we end up finding JonSnow in that position anytime soon. I don't think that it's super duper likely. It's certainly much less common than it was in Heart of the Swarm. But I do like the fact that PiLiPiLi is able to keep this Oracle alive for so long. It's not just suiciding it in, he's just using it for revelations. Keep an eye on saying, okay, I see that your lair is down. I see, actually, with a revelation, most of your drones have been revelated, and I really like this. Such a subtle thing. Most of the drones are revelated, but look, JonSnow says there was one drone in gas that was not revelationed, so I'm going to throw down the Hydralisk Den with that, just to keep my opponent guessing a little bit longer. It's unlikely that there's going to be some sort of Mutalisk follow-up, but hey, you know what? Why let my opponent know that for certain? Oracle does move in and get a couple of kills, throws down another revelation in the third expansion. It's going to see that Rocks being knocked down, not Nox being rocked down. But the Phoenix also does move in over here, and it's going to be able to scout out that Hydralisk Den as soon as it moves just barely into range. No, doesn't move into range. I mean, it's not the biggest deal. It's something that you probably expect as a Protoss player. But again, it's like one of those things that you just want that extra bit of information. Spire does also come down behind this as JonSnow is saying, well, you're not really doing a whole lot to me. And again, he throws down the Spire with one of the few drones that isn't revelationed. So again, nice just kind of small things, the small little advantages you can get to hide your tech. But the Hydralisk Den gets scouted out, and I feel like this is potentially going to be a situation where now JonSnow can say, okay, my opponent thinks I'm going for the Hydralisk. He's getting out a lot of disruptors. But if I just go for a massive Mutalisk flood, as we end up seeing 7 Mutalisks going to be popping out almost immediately, continuing to produce more as we see 8 and 9 Mutalisks now popping out, this could really catch PiLiPiLi very much off guard. And there's one Phoenix out, and there is a Stargate out. But if the Phoenixes are engaging the Mutalisks on top of your Stargate, if they're already trying to force an engagement right next to where your opponent's Mutalisks are already killing off your workers and, you know, basically doing damage, then there's not really a lot this one Phoenix can do. It basically just either gets instantly killed off because it's very difficult to micro without anti-impulse crystals, or your Phoenix just very, very slowly picks away at the Mutalisks and doesn't actually do a whole lot. Oh, JonSnow gonna be able to get on top of the Phoenix, and that one Phoenix is not gonna be long for this world. A lot of these Mutalisks out for JonSnow right now, and PiLiPiLi knows that he's just got to charge across the map or do something. He does have these stalkers. Blink is going to be finished researching in about 10 seconds, but it's about 10 seconds too late to get those units on the 3rd or 4th expansion over to the main base. Workers starting to fall over here, and JonSnow has already taken a nice little lead. I like the fact that he's already throwing out some of these photon cannons, trying to get up whatever defenses he can. Blink is utilized and does manage to pick off a couple of these Mutalisks, but with the photon cannons and also photon overcharge, he may just barely be able to stay alive a little bit longer. Not producing any more Phoenix behind this, though. I really do feel like JonSnow is going to be forced into a nearly all-in position. A Warpism over here. If he can warp in enough Zealots, if he can get a cancel off on the 4th and 5th expansions, then maybe he can still hold into a good position. Maybe he can still buy himself enough time, but once that Mutalisk count starts to build up a bit out of control, as it's already starting to, PiLiPiLi is not going to be able to rely on just purely Zerglings. Or sorry, PiLiPiLi is not going to be rely on purely Stalkers in this situation. The Mutalisk count is already up at the point where it's 17 Mutalisks. It can already almost, I would say, engage half or a quarter of the or 3/4 of the Stalkers on their own, let alone being able to do all the kinds of damage on the other side of the map. I'm sort of surprised he doesn't just kind of gun it down on some of these photon cannons to try and do as much damage as possible. But here, 4th expansion is getting target fire down. The Warp Prism does manage to kill off the 5th expansion. A lot of Zerglings going down. A really nice disruptor hit, and it's a nice disruptor hit. Oh, I was gonna say, because it's easy to kill off your own units versus Zerglings, but PiLiPiLi does manage to kill off a couple of his own Stalkers. And the Mutalisk count, it's built up quite a bit. He's going to be getting up to 21 Mutalisks. And with no reinforcements coming in from PiLiPiLi, once that economy gets killed off, PiLiPiLi might be able to take a really, really weird base trade, but it's going to be so strange. Photon overcharges and the photon cannon going to buy a little bit of time as JonSnow kills off the economy, the main mining base over here for JonSnow, or sorry, for PiLiPiLi. PiLiPiLi is doing the same thing over here, though. Drones are already retreating out for JonSnow. That is such an important thing because I don't know if there are any probes retreated out for PiLiPiLi. He might have a couple of units over here. He's trying to cancel. Oh, he actually doesn't. Did he not cancel a lot of those units? No, I don't think he canceled most of those buildings. And now JonSnow, he has the more mobile army, and he's kind of trading out okay. So there's only 13 workers left over, but there's no more probes that are actually out on the map. These are, I think, almost all of the workers. Almost all of them, if not all of them. Yeah, those are just Zealots up here in the top left. PiLiPiLi has the better army, so in a sense, he will be able to win the base trade, but JonSnow has enough resources, and he escaped with a lot of those drones. He can start building hatcheries around the map. He can take this into a base trade. I feel like he needs to focus on killing these workers, though. The problem is there's enough stalkers and photon cans here that I can understand why JonSnow doesn't want to engage straight into that. I really do feel like PiLiPiLi has the advantage over here. JonSnow gonna try and engage directly on top of this. The stalkers are gonna be in well enough numbers though, even with +1 weapons on these stalkers, it's going to be more than enough. I feel like the stalker can is starting to dissipate. Oh my god, wait a second. Is JonSnow actually turning this around with the Zerglings buying enough time? He managed to kill off all these stalkers. There's still a couple of stalkers left out on the map, but he kills off all the disruptors. He kills off the main army, and suddenly JonSnow, he has a base up here. Even if he only has 5 workers, he's still producing a couple more mutals. Did JonSnow seriously just do this? There's still enough. Okay, there's still the photon cans over here though. And PiLiPiLi can still mine enough to eventually establish a natural expansion? Oh, but I don't know how this goes. This is the really weird situation. I do feel like though there's just barely going to be enough of these stalkers with +2 missile +2 weapons on these stalkers that really does help out quite a bit against these mutals. Being able to pick them off instead of just letting them get low on health is also really important. I like knocking down the rocks, just buying yourself a little bit of time and forcing PiLiPiLi to waste valuable time with his stalkers, killing off the rocks rather than defending his pylons. Even defending things like the sentry. Oh, a nice blink forward. Does manage to kill off 1 Mutalist. A second Mutalist gets very low on health. The photon can's gonna buy a little bit of time. JonSnow, I feel like maybe he knows that Blink was on cooldown over there. I really do feel like he could have just charged on in and killed off some more of these workers. Because you have to remember, killing off the workers halts the production for PiLiPiLi, which JonSnow has the workers to actually start doing stuff with. Oh no, wait a second. Where are JonSnow's workers? They're all back at home. They're all back at home. He was trying to mine from this. Transfuse goes down. He's going to be able to kill off the Zealots. He knows that the Warp Prism is over here now. He's going to be able to pick that off, but this is honestly a bit of a distraction. It would have been nice to have that for maybe a little bit of micro, but the stalkers make their way across the map. A lot of sentries in the mix. PiLiPiLi utilizing that gas bank that he has, even though he had not that many minerals. Can he make this work? Guardian Shield does an insane amount. In fact, if you did not know this, a single Guardian Shielded sentry trades 1-on-1 versus a Mutalisk. So imagine what happens when the stalkers are in the mix, when the hallucination comes in the mix to soak out those glaive worm bounces. I think this is it. I think that PiLiPiLi is going to take this series 2-1 and advance on to the semifinals to face off versus Neeb. Congratulations to PiLiPiLi. Takes yet another series versus JonSnow in a very, very odd base trade game. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hop to a short little break. Well, not only do we get the next series started, but I need to hop to the bathroom because I've been casting straight from the Alima League finals. That was, oh wow, that was actually 5 hours ago now. So 5 hours ago, I started casting, but we're going to be hopping to that, and we're definitely going to go into Neeb versus PiLiPiLi. There's no way we're missing that. So we'll see you guys in just a little bit. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for the DreamHack Valencia North American qualifiers.